What really happened a few minutes before the extinction of the dinosaurs? Let's travel back 65 million years ago to feel it for ourselves. At that time, the end of the world was vast, and with a loud bang, the sky began to radiate a dazzling light. An asteroid more than 10 kilometers in diameter crossed the atmosphere of nearly 100 kilometers in just 3 seconds. Straight to the Yucatan Peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico, its extremely fast fall generated a horrific detonation directly to the ground. Most creatures' eardrums shattered. The dinosaurs were scared and scattered around in fear. At the moment the meteorite hit the ground, the soil and rocks became so fragile due to the excessive pressure it exerted on the Earth that it surged around like a fluid, releasing much more energy than the 1 billion atomic bombs that fell on Hiroshima. Within 10 kilometers of the center of the explosion, all living creatures were directly vaporized, followed by the entire ground lifting 2 walls of Earth up to 30 kilometers high. The core point of the impact had almost broken through the mantle layer, and when the cavity rebounded to form a delayed vertical splash, a large mountain of ruins quickly rose from the deep crater. It was even much taller than Mount Everest. A few minutes later, this great mountain of ruins gradually collapsed in a second explosion, leaving behind a smaller mound of earth, the crater peak ring. Finally, a huge kinetic energy shockwave expanded outward at more than 1,600 kilometers per hour. Assuming that humans had existed at that time, the shock wave would have vaporized the inhabitants of Texas directly, deafened those living in New York, and shattered all the glass in Argentina, and caused crustal movements on all continents, eventually triggering violent earthquakes. 1 hour after the impact, the first wave of tsunami will hit the Gulf of Mexico coastline, up to 300 meters of water guns like gods, so that all kinds of land animals completely desperate. But even more horrifying is yet to come. At the moment of the meteorite impact, 25 trillion tons of rocks were splashed away, moving faster than even the Earth's escape velocity. The rocks broke away from the Earth's gravity and some flew to the moon. And some began orbiting the sun, but most of the ejected debris still returned to Earth within an hour. The glass-like chunks, which scientists call glass meteorites, were some as big as a bus, but most were the size of marbles. They plummeted to the Earth's surface again from high altitudes at 300 kilometers per hour, in numbers large enough to kill most living things. And the intense friction between the glass meteorite and the atmosphere as it fell would have released enough heat radiation that it would have caused fires around the globe and all the forests to burn completely. The most terrible thing is that the meteorite happened to hit a region rich in oil and sulfur. 100 billion tons of sulfur and 3 trillion tons of volatile water were vaporized, which then entered the atmosphere and then condensed into a huge storm cloud, which landed again on the surface of the Earth. And the whole ocean was completely acidified. But the acid rain did not last long. Another disaster began to play out. The oil at the bottom of the crater continued to eject and gradually evaporate into the atmosphere, its condensation in the stratosphere into a layer of black soot layer, like black paint, shrouded the entire planet. Unlike the acid rain caused by sulfur, the carbon in the oil circulated high above the clouds, reducing the amount of rainfall on Earth by 80% and the amount of sunlight reaching the planet's surface by more than 90% in 3 years. First the heat, then the cold, and life on Earth began to die one after the other in this catastrophe. Under a massive cold spell, the temperature dropped to -50 degrees Celsius and most plants began to die one after another. By this time, the dinosaurs' dominance of the Earth began to fade away. 3 years after the collapse, in the midst of the ruins, there was a small animal covered with hair and shaped like a mouse looking at the world in horror. He found that the Tyrannosaurus rex and the long-necked dinosaurs, those terrible enemies, have disappeared. The whole world has never been calm. This is the common ancestor of all primates today, the ancestral beast. 65 million years of change, 65 million years of change, the Earth is still the same Earth, but the hegemon has long ceased to be dinosaurs. we never seem to think deeply. Humans are really irreplaceable. Have you ever thought about the question, if there really is extraterrestrial life in the universe, then why we still haven't found them until today? Scientists generally believe that there are only 4 reasonable explanations for this situation, as follows. 1. The life rare hypothesis. The simple point is that the origin of life on Earth is an extremely unusual process. There is a paper written that although the universe is full of opportunities to breed life, the occurrence of life is still a very occasional and ultra-low probability event. Multicellular life in space is very rare, at least so far humans have not found. Therefore, it is probably a coincidence that life could have been born on Earth itself. This coincidence includes the existence of the Moon and the special position of the Earth in the solar system, among others. And scientists have also found that the impact of intense gamma-ray bursts, in the first 4 billion years after the Big Bang, complex life forms simply cannot be born. Second, the law of the dark forest. Proponents of this theory believe that there is indeed a lot of extraterrestrial life in the universe, but these civilizations are very smart and good at disguising themselves to develop secretly, so that no potential enemies will notice them, just like hunters in a dark forest. If they reveal their coordinates, then they will be eliminated by other opponents. Third, the confinement of the laws of the universe. In the vastness of the universe there may be a mysterious law that restricts the contact of all intelligent life, a gulf that cannot be crossed. This law leads to human beings will be confined forever in the solar system, want to fly out at least tens of thousands of years. Not to mention whether we have the ability, by then, human civilization may have long ceased to exist. Fourth, the big filter. American researchers have speculated in a paper that the earliest intelligent life in the Milky Way appeared about 8 billion years after the birth of the galaxy. That is, the earliest alien intelligent life appeared nearly 5 billion years before humans, when the solar system was still a cloud of dust. The galaxy had already evolved a higher civilization. In more than 5 billion years of history, intelligent life has long blossomed all over the galaxy, but eventually they all became extinct for various reasons. When humans appeared more than 5 billion years later, there were no more higher civilizations in the galaxy, so we did not find any traces of higher intelligent life. So, what exactly did they become extinct for? A view accepted by most people is that the reason for the gradual extinction of higher civilizations is most likely due to the depletion of resources, the deterioration of the living environment, or the devastation brought about by technology itself, such as nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, etc. When we look at human civilization from God's perspective, it is easy to see that from agricultural civilization to industrial civilization and nowadays to information society, more and more problems have gradually emerged, such as environment, resources, and war. That is to say, the development of civilization will always face a variety of bottlenecks, if not solved in time, but also to achieve technological breakthroughs, civilization will certainly die out. However, from a certain point of view, even the universe is also in the process of decay, so the existence of life is really just a process. How to properly enjoy it, how to live their short lives, is the problem that each of us should think about.